So our program today is Beauty and the Bees, and we're excited that our Dragline Park will soon become a reality down here at what we call Gennardi's Corner, which is 69 and 47. We'll be bringing that famous, one-of-a-kind, page 618 walking dragline. It will be the largest walking dragline preserved for public display in the entire United States. There are only 4 walking drag lines in the entire North American continent. So we're pretty excited about it. We know it's going to be a great tourist attraction. So in addition to that, we decided what to do at the grounds, and we will be placing a huge wildflower meadow which will surround the drag line, and we will also have a separate butterfly garden. Peyton's Potting Shed is working with us on the butterfly garden. She's going to be providing the plants, volunteering to do the planting, and looking for help with that project also. And the state of Kansas, the Wildlife Division, is assisting us with the wildflower meadow. So that is why we've kind of switched pace here a little bit on our programming, and we're doing some programs to show the importance of what that wildflower meadow and butterfly garden will be bringing to our area. And as I was telling Patty, 20 years ago when the tornado came through here and wiped out the middle of Franklin completely, I mean right down to the pavement, there were no trees, there were no plants. And one of the things that we noticed the most was the silence. And it was the silence not of people but of animals. There were no birds chirping, there were no squirrels chirping, there were no crickets, there were no sound. There was no sound because there was no wildlife. The plants were gone, hence the animals were gone after the plants were gone. So, we've done a pretty good job. We've planted trees and the growth is back. It's been 20 years, so we're excited to have that. But we think down there on the corner, this is going to be a great addition to have that wildflower meadow and butterfly garden. So we hope that all of you will visit that when we do get that in. We have been told it's a 3-year process. The first year, it sleeps. The second year, it creeps, and the third year it leaps. So it's going to be 3 years before it's fully, grown and beautiful is what we're being told. So anyway, we'll keep you updated on that. If you follow us on Facebook, you can learn all about all of our projects, including that corner down there, the Dragline Park. So that's what we thought it'd be interesting to have a program today talking about the bees. We've had former ones talking about the butterflies and the flora and fauna. So Patty and Phil were kind enough to come and offer to present this program to you, and they'll share information about the bees and how they're vital to the health of the wildflower meadow and the gardens and things like that. So I'd like to welcome all of you once again to the program, and I'd like to welcome Phil and Patty Street. They are with the Cherokee County Beekeepers Association. Thank you. Please come in.
All right. So first off, we'll talk about who we are, how we got into bees. So probably a lifelong interest in bees, but we got started and we tried to think about this that maybe, would you say 13 or 14 years ago, maybe. But we had a good friend of ours that had bees, and some of you may know him. Jack Coase already passed away last year, but he was instrumental in starting the club in Columbus. But he had bees. We talked about them, and I think we were going out to eat one day, and he said, "I've got this hive of bees that I caught in a swarm that I don't want it to be right by my other bees. Can I bring it to your house?" And they lived about 5 miles from us. And so I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be great." And so he brings it and he sets it up at our house, and of course I looked at it every day, twice a day. I don't know, as often as you could. Like, oh, this is cool. But it was his. And so we were talking later on, and I said, I think I'd be interested in getting some bees. And he said, "Well, why don't you just get those that are right there in your yard?"
I think it was a setup.
And you'd have to know Jack to know this, but I couldn't get it figured out how to pay him. I eventually traded him some stuff, but he wouldn't take money. But so we had that one hive, and so we didn't know anything about hives or bees or anything, but we started going to the Joplin Club because we didn't have one in Columbus. Started going to that club and trying to learn more about them. And in the meantime, that hive swarmed 4 times the first year. And we caught all of those and got them in the different boxes, and so we went from 1 to 5, and we barely even knew what was going on with bees. So
You don't
that's-
really have to know what's going on with bees to
That's how
have
we got
bees,
started.
actually.
So, and I don't know, we've done everything in between. I was telling that, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Wayne Bockelman.
Wayne, okay, I'm Phil, and that's Wayne. But we're talking to Wayne, and I said, you know, at one time we had up to 30 hives, and it went from being a fun hobby to this is taking more time than my full-time job. And so we ended up, you know, getting a little bit down on the number that we have, and we're down to, I think we have 4 hives now. So
4 is nice.
4 is a nice number.
4 is a nice number.
I went out and went through every one of them Friday and did not get too sweaty, and it wasn't bad. So
Not bad. But we probably are aware that most of you are not interested in becoming full-on beekeepers, so we don't want to bore you with a whole lot of basic, how do I become a beekeeper? But we're going to go around it a little bit because you might have an interest that you didn't know you had.
So I know Wayne. Anybody else have bees now? There you go.
Yay.
All right.
Not officially. but
Well,
they're
yeah,
around.
everybody's got them. I'll tell you this
Good.
story. I want to tell this story. My dad said, I don't like bees. Oh, I don't like bees. And Patty does a lot of research on the history of Cherokee County. And one of the things that there is the agriculture census.
The 1885 agriculture census for Cherokee County asked those who were in agriculture, how many stands of bees do you have? And I was talking to this gentleman and Phyllis earlier. It is surprising how many people in 1885 did have bees. They may have only had 1 or 2, and they called them stands at that time. We just say hives of bees. And they would ask them again on the questionnaire, how much honey do you produce in a year and sell? You know, the government would like to know what you're selling, and how much wax do you produce and sell. So back
But-
to the agriculture.
If you had a large farm, you probably had bees. I mean, it seemed like. But anyway, he said, my mom had bees, and I didn't like them. I had to mow the lawn, and they would come and sting me as I was mowing the lawn. I don't want to have bees. I don't want to be around bees. I said, well, okay, we won't put them in your yard. I said, but you got them. He said, no, I don't. I said, and we were standing in his yard, which had a lot of just wild clover in it that was in bloom. I said, well, let's stand here and look down. And we get to looking, and there was a half a dozen of them just right there, you know, honeybees. So
Just minding their own business,
minding their
not
own
bothering
business.
anyone.
He didn't want to have bees, but he ended up having them anyway, just like you do. So I don't know if you have an interest in getting bees. This first PowerPoint that I have here is about getting bees, where they come from, how you get into it. Let me go over here.
I'm gonna trade you spots.
Try
I'm
this
just gonna
back.
move all the way to the end.
You can get a full hive, and that's how we started. That might not be the most economical way, but it was for us. Now let's get this one. Here's you know, how do you get bees? You can obviously you can buy a complete hive, and we didn't buy it, we traded for it, but still, that's how you can do it. Purchase package bees. People are surprised about that. You know, we used to take the Beekeepers magazine, I forgot what it's called, you might remember,
The journal.
monthly bee journal. I let that subscription go by the wayside like everybody else. No one does paper magazines anymore, but I was looking online because I was looking at this as like, oh yeah, you can order bees online. And they ship them in the mail. They just come to your house in the mail. And, I don't know how many there are. Probably not 10,000, probably only like 4,000 or 5,000. And a queen. And it comes in the mail to you, and you know, we'll get into that. You can buy a nuke, and that's probably what everybody that I know does. The advantages of that is they are from this area generally. you're not gonna travel far to buy a nuke. And nuke means nucleus. It is 5 of these frames like this. There's 2 in here. But you get 5. Supposedly there'll be a queen, eggs, everything ready to go, and all you have to do is put it in your box and let them take off. So that's where you can capture a swarm, and I got a whole deal on swarms. I think that's interesting, but we'll get into that as we go through here. But those are the things that you can do. Complete hives, obviously you have to find somebody who wants to sell them, and I do see them for sale. People will list them on Marketplace sometimes. I want to get out of the bee business. I want to sell my hives and move on. I did this presentation probably 5 years ago. It says 300 or 400. It's probably 600 now. I don't know how much it is. I've never tried to actually buy them, but I'd want to, before I bought them, I'd want to look at them. It'd be nice to know what was going on and what you were doing, and have someone who did know. I don't know if you remember, Patty, the auction they had in Galena where they sold those bees at auction, and the guys just loaded them on their trailer, and half the people at the auction had to go to urgent care from stings. They just drove off in the middle of the day. So you need to have somebody that knows what they're doing if you're going to be moving some bees. I have moved bees several times. We used to have 3 different hives, and the best way I could do it would be at night, close up their hives so they're all in there resting or whatever. But you got to be careful. Don't go out there with your flashlight because they're attracted to the flashlight, so they're going to come after you. But at night, close it up, and then you can move them. But make sure you open it up, soon. But anyway, that's what you can do. But that's what the boxes look like, just like that. This one has a single deep and a super. This picture has double deeps and a super. When we first started, we would only use 1 deep. That's all we ever did, and that's what Jack had done, and that's how we were on that. And then more and more people got into double deeps. Now everything I have has a permanent deep and a super. That's worked out pretty good for me. But again, but anyway, this would be nice if you had you bought your hive and it had that good of a looking frame. I took Patty's picture holding that up because I said that is, well, first it's my favorite beekeeper, and secondly, that's a perfect frame. I mean, it has brood, it has honey on the outside edge, it was new. I mean, that's what you want to look at. These here, all of our stuff is old. It gets darker colored, the wax does, so that's the reason I took that picture. I think you can take that to the fair. Anyway, that's all you got to do. Move them in the evening, put them where you want them, and you're good to go. You're ready to start working on them. Package bees. Now, I did change this number. I looked that up. Midwest Bees had them online, $195. Includes the Mark Queen. It came from Texas. They're going to come in the mail to you. It looks like that when you get the box. It's got the bees in there, and you can't see the little picture there. Somewhere is a picture. Yeah, see the little queen cage box there? That comes in that as well. So anyway, it's going to come. So you got to do something with it. 2 or 3 pounds. I've seen video of them collecting those, and they just have a big funnel, and they just start dumping bees in there. So it's not going to be a family like you got here. It's going to be just whatever random bees plus a queen that come through there. The last time I checked it, they were still just shipping them U.S. mail, and you could the post office would call you and say your bees are here. Please come and get them out of our building. You can expect that there might be some that don't make it. As long as there's not too many, it should be good.
Is it a certain season you would want to order? Because how do they put
Yes.
them in January?
I think you would want to do it, the time anyway that we try to get people to install nukes and everything, it'd be around that same time, probably in that, mid-April to late May, in that
The company doesn't actually even guarantee a shipping date until they can see what the weather pattern is gonna be. And then they will let you know when your bees are gonna come. It'll be the right time.
So it's a little bit harder than the nuke. The nuke, you could just take those frames, put them in your hive and move on. You don't even have to worry about it. These you have to, you gotta spend a little more time on it. 1-to-1 sugar water, you get that bucket there. That's something that we spray sometimes. You can see the little spray bottle there. The idea of that is, or this is what Jack always told me, he says it doesn't hurt them and it gives them something to do.
Keeps them busy.
Instead of, keeps them busy, licking that off of themselves, because they like it. But anyway, spray them down a little bit, and then, you know, you got to take the cover off, get the bees all ready there, but then you have to, once you get the bees moving into your box, you have to leave that queen in there, and you have to leave her in there, you know, I don't know how long it's going to take. I think it has it on here. It says corn-shake bees. Here. Keep the entrance reducer. That's that small thing there. And 5 days. That's what I was getting to. Keep checking on the queen. They put her in that box. It has a little candy plug for them to be eating it out. And once they've got eaten through it and they're to the queen and they've accepted her, then you can remove that, and then you're back to going on. So I have less experience with purchasing bees as a package. In fact, I don't know that I've ever done that. Have you ever done that, Wayne? Or
Yes, I have.
bought a package? How did it go? Did it go pretty good? Or
Went fun.
yeah. So I don't have much experience doing that, but you know, it is a way to get bees. Purchasing nukes. So that's a little more down than what I've done in the past, and generally it would be a local thing, because there are people around here that do it. I did have another slide that from several years ago that listed people that had them. Well, I'm not as up to date on that anymore, so I didn't do that. But I do know that our club and the Joplin Club both work together to find people that will sell you nukes, so that if you want to get started, they know who they are. I'm going to throw out a name that, again, I don't know if you'll have him before, but Clint Napton is the current president of the Joplin Club, and he sells nukes in the spring, and I bought some from him this year. So, but again, Wayne said he's a member of the Pittsburgh Club, so I know the Pittsburgh Club could help you with getting bees if you want to do that, and that's what our club does do. And Wayne, you said you had a beginning beekeeping class coming up in, I don't know what the
November.
date.
November's a great time to
Sometime
take
in
a
November.
beekeeping class.
And our club also has one in November, and I have it on my phone. I can look it up when it is,
November 15th.
but the 15th.
On a Saturday.
Yeah.
It's all day.
So if you're interested in getting started, that's what I suggest. Start with being a member of the club. Oh, looky there.
Thank you.
You don't have to be a member, obviously, to have bees, but it is much easier to learn from someone who's already doing it. So, anyway, they can help you find where you can get them, have advice on how to set them up. The nukes are going to look something like that. Those are boxes I made. Sometimes they sell them just in cardboard boxes. Those are wooden boxes. Patty and I sold nukes for a couple of years, and you know, that was our goal, to get 5 frames like this. We would feed them, get them started. You know, that was some wind up there when we were doing it.
How much does it cost?
Okay, I bought one from Clint Napton this year. It was $200 even. When we sold them, it was $150. So things go up. I mean, that's how it is.
If you already have a lot of bees, why, and we're trying to go down, why are you buying?
Well,
a new
we went
nuke?
down farther than we wanted to and lost half of them.
You lose them over the winter?
Yeah.
Oh.
The state average for bee loss in the state of Kansas is 50%.
So every year you have to buy new,
No, not every year.
but many years.
That's an average. Somebody lost all theirs.
Is that normal, or is there something going on there that's killing it?
It increases almost every year, and there are things that are going on to cause that.
But that's the state average for the state of Kansas, based on people who reported it. Some people may not report it.
What are those things going on?
We're gonna talk about that in just a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm gonna give you a minute to think about it, because you probably already know.
Yeah, I had my
think so.
suspicions.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of things. I was talking to someone about quail hunting. Some of the same things that affected quail hunting affect bees. Where I live, people are much more efficient farming than they were when I used to farm with my dad. They take out the hedgerows, they would go all the way to the road, and, you know. But anyway, people sell nukes, and you know, we still raise bees, and there's still a lot of bees around. And we're going to talk about other bees. I said 50% loss. That's we're talking about the European honeybee, which is not even native to this area. So you could keep one to live, then you're doing great. But there's a lot of other native bees too, and things we can do for them. But anyway, like I said, you can simply put that in the box, and away you go. So the other thing you can do is capture wild swarms.
Have you ever seen a wild swarm of bees? Fun, isn't it? Yeah.
I've done some capturing of swarms. You know, there's a picture of one in our garden. See there on the front of that board. And so the life cycle of a bee, first off, all these bees that you're looking at here, yeah, I don't see any of them. Every one of them is a female. I don't see any males in that group. Every bee is a female, except for the you know, few drones that they may raise. So you know, they're smarter. I mean, they're females. They got to be smart. But the life cycle of a bee, this hive will grow and grow, and they're natural hoarders, and you can add on supers, and they put more and more honey and whatever. But in that April, in this area anyway, I think the earliest I've messed with a swarm was April the 7th, and then you know, through May, June. I don't know how much later they would do it, but they, as a group, as a hive, they decide that, you know what, we filled this up, we're in pretty good shape. I think we could move on, and we could expand. And so their natural way of expansion is the queen, who was here with this group, they get her ready to go, and they move someplace else and take half of the bees with them. They take half of the bees, half of the supplies, and they move on. And that's, you know, half of whatever was in that box is right there. And they move to a new place. I'll switch over to this other one. Here's the one with the, because I got a good slide that shows the swarm. So that's a picture of one of our bees on
Basil.
basil. But that's in our yard. I have a whole bunch of yard pictures here. Let me open this other one up. It's about the swarms, if I can get. Start me to look for
Now,
both.
if they take the queen, what happens to the old hive?
Inside the hive, the bees have been getting ready, and so they built something down there on the bottom that will grow a larger bee, and that will be a new queen. And so they won't do it until they know that they're going to have a new queen coming along. So that's called a queen cell. So they make a good plan. They know it's going to work. And there's probably more than one of these. There might be a half a dozen for insurance. Yeah.
So anyway, they've made a new queen and they stayed home. Half of them moved on and they moved to a tree or whatever, somewhere part of way, a long way. But this is a picture of what they do. And this was from University of Georgia, actually. The guy did a big study on it. But you can see they go from the hive, half of them go to this tree, and they'll eventually settle on that, there as a group. So what they're doing now is, and I don't know why they do it this way, the Lord knows, but I don't know. They move to this spot before they decide where they're going to go. So they move there, and then they stay there. I was telling Wayne we had one that eventually they stayed there. They couldn't decide. They were there for weeks. But they decide, they get to here. And now we got to figure out where we're going to move. And so they'll send out scouts. Scouts will go to, either, maybe a bee trap that I put up, or maybe a hollow tree, or maybe to the soffit of your house, or maybe somewhere.
Maybe to an old pickup,
An
pickup
old
out in
pickup. I
your
wish I had a
fence
picture
row.
of that. One of them moved to an old truck that we have.
We're gonna restore it though, so don't ask.
Oh, yeah, it's it's no, it's gonna be restored. But anyway, yeah. Dave knows what I'm talking about. So they move, but they send scouts, and so those scouts go out and they walk through this area, fly through this area, and decide what they think of it. They come back to this group, and they do a dance to point out the advantages of their area that they've scouted out. And so if it's the best for the group, then the other scouts will go look at it. And they go back and forth deciding on what is the best. When they finally decide, all at one time they'll fly off and move to this other place. So, and we've had all kinds of things. Once you get your name in the club, people call you and people will say stuff like, "Can you get these out of our house?" I was like,
But you can't tear anything up.
I can get that out of your house. I'll have to cut a whole pretty big hole in it. Once they're in there, it's extremely difficult to get them to move on someplace else. Now, if they want to move, if they want to swarm like that, yeah. There was a woman in Columbus called Jack and I and said, "Hey, these bees were in this tree and they were bulldozing, they pushed the tree down and we can't get it out. Can you get them out?" And we go and we think, "Oh, a tree, we can just cut into it with a chainsaw." It was a tree like, huge, and we looked at it and I said, "There is no way that those bees will come out." And Jack said, "I don't think so either." And I said, "Well, I feel bad that we've come up here and thought we could help this woman." I said, "I'm going to leave a box here by it and see what happens." She called me a few days later, "Okay, the bees have moved into your box." I'm like, "No way." But they have. But generally, once they're someplace, that's where they are. So, anyway, that's the process. That's their way of multiplying. That's their reproduction process. Oh, I'm going too slow. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, swarms in trees. Swarms in a cedar tree on a fence. Trimming the tree up. And we caught several of them. So anyway, the other thing we wanted to get into as we were talking, other things, other bees, pollinators. So, open this one up. Some details on the pollinators. Obviously, honeybees are one of the things that do pollination. Some of the fruits and vegetables they're involved in. Everyone's heard of the bees, people taking bees to the almond groves in California. I mean, that's something that they have to pollinate. David was talking about having a pear tree. He must have honeybees if he has a pear tree, because you don't get pears without that.
I don't know that we have honeybees. We may have, but I think we have native bees.
Lots of native bees. This is a picture that shows some native bees. The rest of this article says there are 4,000 different native bees, so I don't doubt that at all. And so I knew we were coming up here, Patty and I did, so we spent some time just taking pictures of things that were around our yard. So there's a honeybee. That bush is called chaste bush. We were at the new Mercy Hospital, and they had some of those planted there in front of them. I saw bees on there, and I thought, well, that's neat. And so one of our neighbors has a greenhouse. We got a bush from her.
The real advantage to that particular bush is that it doesn't bloom until toward the end of summer. So if you're ever gonna plant something that you're gonna try to encourage pollinators and give them a little bit of something during their downtime, this is a good bush for that, and it has a long bloom time. So it's a favorite. It must produce a lot of nectar because they're on it for weeks. A lot of bushes, they just bloom such a short time, but this is a nice long bloomer.
And what's this one called?
Chaste,
Oh,
chaste.
C-H-A-S-T-E.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go through these, and some of these bees we have. Most of these bees, I don't know what they are. This one is that's a dragonfly. I'm like, why would a dragonfly be on it? Well, I don't know. Maybe he's eating a bee, because that's one of the things they eat, are bees. So, and we have bees, and we have a lot of dragonflies around. But anyway, there's another honeybee on that chaste bush. There's another kind of a bee on it. That actually, that may not have been a chaste bush. That was the one in Shawnee. It was a different kind of bush, but it's similar flower. There's that bee again. And that's the bush itself. We planted that bush, and I told Patty, I was down in Dallas at a meeting, I said, I'm walking through here, and there's these trees that look like them. Well, they get huge. I didn't realize that.
We
they
planted
had
them way too
chaste
close
bushes, and,
together.
yeah, that's 2 of them, and they're already 12 foot high. So, and then I decided to put this in here just to give you an idea that you don't need a 12 foot high bush. So that's those tiny wild clovers that are white. There's one bee on there in the middle. Our bee yard is on a patch about the size of this room maybe, and it is covered with that. It's probably a combination of Ladina clover that I planted and that wild clover. But I bet all of the honey we had from this year was from that clover. And someone said something about their yard. It would look nice if I mowed it, but once the clover's in bloom, I don't mow it. I leave that out there for them. But tiny little flowers, and I think we've harvested 8 or 9 gallons of honey that they got from those tiny little flowers this year in the beginning. I didn't take a picture of this, but there's something blooming now that has a pink flower. I mean, no bigger than a pinhead, and they were out there on that too. So they find stuff. But those are honeybees. So there's another bee. I don't know what kind of bee that is. But
It's a bumble variety.
a variety of bumblebee. So these are water plants. We have a pond right by our house, and one, you can tell that story. No, we don't have time for stories. Our grandson brought one little plant, and that plant took over the pond. But anyway. So anyway, and then this is a button bush. We're in Springfield, the state of Missouri. We're giving those away free. It's actually an invasive species, I've decided. But anyway, that water bush, the water plants there in front, the back is that button bush. I tend to bush hog it all down.
The button bush also attracted some beautiful butterflies,
Oh, yeah.
many varieties of butterflies,
Yeah.
and it sun, but part marshy area. So if you've got an area like that and the buttonbush, super easy to grow.
Yeah.
Butterfly.
I think we were in Shawnee and took that picture, but another different butterfly. This in our yard. That's, I mean, you can
More
say it.
basil.
Say it.
Well, I've already said it once.
Okay, it's on the basil plant.
I think we eat it all the time.
Yeah. Some other kind of moth bee thing on that basil.
Sphinx moth.
Mhm.
What did you say? Sphinx moth.
Sphinx moth.
They are really interesting. They're big size.
Actually, there's the hives we have, and that front part is those basil plants. Was at our church.
Oh, the really old plant that we always called it a spider plant, but it's Cleome. Oh yeah, they really were enjoying that. And that plant is ajuga, the low ground cover. It only blooms early, but they appreciate that. Very fancy. It's this plain old zinnia.
Who took these pictures?
I think I might have scavenged that one off of
A couple of
the
them,
Kansas bird.
yeah,
page.
mostly we did, we took them ourselves.
Yeah.
That's a difficult shot to
That
get.
one is a very good one. I didn't do that.
So this was just out in our pasture. These are
Wild asters.
asters
They come
that are
in
blooming
several
now.
colors.
The thing on asters is it's probably the last thing to bloom, you know, in the fall. And I don't sometimes see honeybees on white aster. That's not their favorite though. There's, you know, a different kind of bee on asters. And then that's, you can see it's just a weed patch basically, but it's the asters. And then here's a different bee on purple aster. And that's the ones I see I see bees on the purple aster, and I see honeybees on that.
I don't even know what that bug is.
It's a moth.
Is it a moth?
Moth.
Okay.
And that, you can see that's just an area that the bush hog won't reach. I've included this because there was some goldenrod in there. Bees make honey out of goldenrod, and there's a ton of that right now too. That's another lead thing. Things around our house though, this is tarragon you said, right here? The moth on that. Oh, you wanna go through this buzz pollination? There's a short video.
Let them watch the video. I think that's enough.
Oh, we didn't ever hook up the Wi-Fi though,
Oh.
so we didn't have
Oh,
that.
it's okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot to do that.
All
That's
right.
all right. But other things we have around our house that just in season, the first thing might be weeping willow. The bees will start out on the willow. You won't even, you think it's winter, and our neighbor called us and said, your bees have moved to our house. Well, it was just, they were gathering pollen nectar off of their willow tree. And that was really early in the year. And then persimmons, we have a whole lot of persimmons. One day I thought, well, I hear something, I think the bees have swarmed. I'm gonna see if I can find where that swarm went to. Well, that wasn't it. It was just bees on that persimmon bloom. And they were busy taking it back to the hive. So trees, all the trees have some kind of bloom. It may not attract honeybees, but it's gonna attract some kind of bee. But we also have, have that clover, wild blackberries. We have to have the best pollinated blackberries in the state. Is the only thing I can think of, because man, we have a lot of wild blackberry around. I don't know what other things there have been, but that's pretty much it. We brought with us some stuff. You want to talk about that?
We did. We brought a few things with us. I was showing Phyllis and Joyce earlier these are both honeys from this year. I think this one was earlier in the spring. This one was a little bit later. This is some that we harvested probably 7 or 8 years ago. Same bee yard, same location, just a different time of the year, but it had been a very dry year and the honey was incredibly different. But it's not solid, it's still liquid, it's not even sugary. But I'm gonna point out that this one, when you buy natural honey from someone, you might not expect that it will get a little bit solid or crystal in the bottom. It just depends on the year, what the bees have been foraging. This is not bad, it just tells you it's real honey. And so it's turned a little bit solid here in the bottom. You can either eat it that way if you enjoy it, or you can gently warm it up and it'll go back to liquid again. Other products that the bees make would be wax. Everybody knows what beeswax is, and it also can be different colors. This is a little, almost has a greenish look to it. This is a little bit more bright yellow. And then when you buy wax, which are of that, they've bleached that, or they've used only brand new cappings, because otherwise it would look a little dirtier than this. So that you can purchase wax. I also have a couple of sheets up here from the Kansas Honey Producers, and it explains the anatomy of bees. Some of these things would take too long to just talk about. What it looks like inside the hive, and we can open these up if anybody's really interested. Some more about pollination, and I think Peyton will do a great job with your garden. She's fun. She has a really interesting way of presenting things, and I've learned a few things from her also. The one slide did say buzz pollination, which I found that very interesting, that there are some flowers that the pollen isn't out here where it can be gathered just any time. Some of the flowers, the pollen is deep inside of them, and they don't open up so that something can get into the pollen until they feel a bee vibrating on the flower, and then it will allow that bee to climb inside and get the pollen. And so some of the examples were tomatoes and potatoes. And then I know that we have some wisteria at our house. The honeybees never mess with it because they cannot open up. It's like a little snapdragon face. They are not strong enough to get in there. But those great big bumblebees, they are all the way in, and they come out and it looks like it's snowed on them. They're just covered with pollen. So we need all of the pollinators, not just the honeybees. We'll take the dragonflies, the lightning bugs, the regular flies. So they're all important for us. And then they're in the observation hive. Come up and look, ask questions. We brought a bucket of beekeeping tools with us. At our club, we joke many times about we're going to have a competition someday to see who can keep their smoker lit. Because this is probably the hardest part of beekeeping, is just keeping the thing going all the time. By the time you really need it, it's burned itself out or something, you know. But it's a fun hobby. If you've got any, what questions do you have?
Yeah, I heard you say you have regular flies, like house flies.
Even a housefly is a pollinator.
Oh, they pollinate?
Yeah. I know.
Sorry.
Some things are even just wind pollinated.
Phyllis, do you have a question?
So will our wildflower now and our butterfly garden, will we benefit the bees, or will the bees benefit us, or both? And how will they find us? I mean, they don't have GPS, or they just gonna send somebody out and send a bee out, or they're gonna find us right in the middle of nowhere.
They see those colors and they are attracted. I mean, they don't see all of the range of colors that we do. I mean, there's some explanation on some of these sheets, and so they're called in, and I think that they they communicate to each other if they find a really good nectar source. Waggle dance, we're not gonna perform that. But they go back to the hive and they go in circles, and however many circles they make, that's an increment of distance, and then they are going that direction when they're dancing, and it's a communication to the rest of their hive. There's a really great something over here that we could go and forage with. So, very interesting.
Well, they, you know, we have no trees right now there. We
Right.
have some down there, but- So if they're coming there, are they going to have a hive or walk away somewhere?
Probably within a mile, but I have heard that if the times are poor for them, they will fly 4 or 5 miles if they have to. But that's not very productive for them because they utilize a lot of their food in that flying. But the hive will be close probably,
Well, I know you're talking mostly about honeybees,
right?
but I'm really interested in native bees, and I was just wondering how feasible it is. I built a hive for native bees. There's solitary bees that don't live in hives,
Right.
and you build they call it a bee hotel or different things that you do.
Did they check in?
I haven't. I just built it, and I didn't do
Okay.
it quite right. I think I've got I'm learning about what I've got to do differently than I did.
Right.
But I'm just wondering about the feasibility of putting up bee hotels for the native bees. And from what I hear, they're better pollinators than honeybees, but there are fewer of them.
Yeah.
And they're lower in population. But I know that I have more native bees in my area because I've let my area go.
And that's a good point. I wanted to talk about that. To those of you who are meticulous gardeners and you clip and you trim and you rake and you bag stuff up and burn it or whatever, to be a friend of a pollinator, you have to leave them a place to live, a place to get under for the winter time, to lay their eggs, to turn into a pupa and all that business. And so if you rake and you bag and you clip and you haul that all away, you've kind of destroyed their habitat. So it rubs gardeners the wrong way to just leave things because we always thought we should rake it all up and make it look good. But for the pollinators, it's nice for them to have a little of that forage or that cover area.
You
to
can tell
spend.
the city when they come by to give you a fine that this is a habitat.
That's right.
Exactly. Take the opportunity to educate
I've
them.
had to do that. Speaking of dancing, we have bees in our soffit up 20 feet in a Victorian house. I dressed up in yellow and black and put on some Napoleon zebra and danced, and they
Try
wouldn't
it.
leave.
They wouldn't fall.
They
Oh,
wouldn't
I'm sorry
leave.
I wasn't there
Oh,
to
they
see
did
that.
good. I did, a guy came with he talked about, well, the first swarm left, and then they were in there, they had to kill them, we didn't want to.
Yeah.
Well, but then they came back, they
Mhm.
found it, and then we had a wonderful guy came over with a high lift, he came up, took the boards out, took the swarm and cleaned all that out of there for me. It was a wonder, and they haven't been back, thankfully.
Good.
But
Yeah.
dancing, polka music, dressed up they don't leave.
Oh.
Have you seen any videos of those dances and explanations?
Mhm.
Are they pretty plentiful? I mean, how would a person find one of those?
To look on, you mean, how you find it online or
Yeah.
in live? Oh, online, just, bee waggle dance.
Oh,
I'd go with
right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that gets you where. I don't know what other dances you might find.
Whoa.
Yikes.
Boy, that took a
You
turn.
gotta be
didn't it?
careful.
What's killing the bees?
Back to that question.
What kills bees?
No,
Well,
I'm right. We get rid of too many spray and stuff.
if it's an insecticide, it's tough for me.
Same way with the quail and stuff, you think, too?
Well, I started off saying something about where we live. Bigger and bigger farms, and they want to farm everything, and they take out some of that habitat. I mean, there's just nothing to be done about it. I mean, field, when I was a kid, every field had a hedgerow around it, and now they clean those out so they can farm more. And I don't know if it's not bad or good or whichever it is, it's just a fact. We live in the middle of a meadow, kind of, that I bale every year for my cows, and once I've mowed that down and we baled it all up and we start feeding the cows, what we've created is a great big green empty nothing, because we took everything out of there that they were using. So I'm dependent upon, I said something about places that the bush hog wouldn't get to. Well, that's where some of that stuff is, and if I mow everything down, that's no longer food for the bees. So I think that's one of the reasons that we do better in the spring with our bees, is because we still have that meadow that's producing some stuff, and once we mow it down, then now they have to go farther. I do have people around me that grow soybeans and stuff like that, and so that helps, but that's part of their food supply. But back to the insecticides, I'm not saying that, we have a garden. I've grown squash. If you've grown squash, you know that you can't grow squash unless you figure out a way to get rid of squash bugs. I don't know how they come, I don't know where they come from, but, well, I think you can have bees and still spray for squash bugs, but you don't spray on the blooms. The bees are only usually coming to the blooms, and so you gotta be careful about that. And but those two things don't mix, insecticides and honeybees, because they're an insect. I don't know about Roundup and that kind of stuff. I don't think it harms bees, but I don't know that. There's a lot of studies out. I don't know what to say. Friends of ours had bees, and they told him that they were going to spray the farm around him, so we closed them all up. And you can do that in the night, close them all up and let them spray and whatever, but he closed them all up, and then they said, oh, it's not going to be today, it'll be tomorrow, and they didn't open them up, and they all died because they were closed up. So it's a limited amount of time that it's a delicate habitat.
But the spraying is a problem.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's part of it. Who knows what else, but I think just like the quail, it's that loss of habitat probably is the toughest thing.
How do you close up blossom?
Right here. You can leave it all the way open. Most of the
Oh,
summer.
your box,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, most of
okay.
the
And they
summer
go
we
in
leave
there.
it all the way open.
Yeah, they go in there every night.
Yeah.
They'll all be in there at night.
Oh, that's an actual
Just a
fly.
fly.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him.
Uh-huh.
If I'm worried, you'll see me put this on.
Okay.
Okay. So you can turn this a couple of different ways, and it opens their door or reduces it, and so you can close it all the way.
It's a piece of trim.
like that. Yeah. And if we're gonna move them, we close it like that and put a piece of tape across there to make sure they don't come out, that kind of thing. But it's a removable.
You could probably do
Door.
a little bit longer if it was cooler weather, but in the summertime, I have, Wayne and I were talking about catching swarms, and I've caught them, like, okay, I'm gonna close this up, the swarm, while I go do something else, and in an hour in the sun is too much, and they didn't make it, so you gotta be real careful about that. It's too hot.
We've kept you guys a long time. Thank you for being patient. I should have warned you first that beekeepers can talk a long time about bees. I'm sorry.
And
And we're
we'll
not
stay and
really
talk as
done,
long as you
so-
want, if you want to come up and bring stuff, but,
Yeah.
like we said, if I have an idea, it's only, one out of, if 10 beekeepers are in the same room, there's 10 different ideas.
Well, and we said we were gonna ask Wayne at the end, is there anything you would have shared?
I would have opened that box there so people could see.
I would have
too.
Okay.
She will, she will.
We will.
We didn't have anything in it, really.
Well, but it's what people don't see.
So the top part is what you call a super. That's generally what you'll be able to collect honey off of. This is a frame that had honey in it, and we extracted, and then they've cleaned it off. But the frames start out with a plastic base, the ones we do. Now, I have one in here.
That one.
This one is, it was from a swarm. We were talking about swarms, and I put it in here and just stuck some of their stuff in there, and they filled it all out. But you don't have to have the plastic frames. You can just put a little bit of wax along the top, and they'll just build it all down and fill it all in themselves. You don't have to do this. What the plastic does, though, is for an extractor, it makes it a lot better because they won't come apart. And so, but I think someone was talking about buying wax, honeycomb honey to eat or whatever, and they've just taken the whole thing, cut it into squares, and that's where it comes from. But this is super. That's where you can get honey from. That belongs to the bees. You can't touch that. They need all of that. Supposedly, this would be everything they would need to last the entire year, and they wouldn't need anything else. Some people go with double that, but I compromise. I guess we went with 1.5.
So they live in one and they produce honey in the other.
Yeah.
They
And
keep
they'll-
some honey down here too.
They'll keep building it up. You
They
saw
do.
the one hive that I had there had 4 or 5 stacked on there. That's just the way it is. You say, well, I got this much out of my yard, but really I got a whole bunch off of one and a little bit off of the others. And so that one was most of our honey this year.
How many bees are typically in a swarm or
In a
house?
in a full hive at the height of summer, maybe 60,000. And when they swarm, I don't know if half of them go, but a third to half. And they'll take that original queen with them, and then a new queen will hatch. And if they prosper, they might swarm again in just a little while. And that's the way they really reproduce. And for the most part, they're not going to JT Soffit. They're going to go in a hollow tree or somewhere in nature, and you'll see them around.
So you have 60,000 bees.
Sometimes, just in one box. Right.
These are doing pretty good, but you can see they're staying on this. This is brood, and they're kind of staying on it, probably trying to keep it warm since it's cooler here than their hive was.
How many bees are in there?
It was a small
Probably a few
hive.
hundred, I bet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We try not to bring too many, and we hope the queen is not in there. We would not really mean to take her out, because that would really disturb them.
So is there a queen in that box?
Probably not.
I don't know. I don't think
Well,
so.
I
There's
looked
2
it up.
frames
Well,
here.
where
She
does
could be
this
in
queen
between.
come
but-
from? Why wouldn't there be a queen?
Because we wouldn't really
We didn't bring the
wish
whole
to
box.
bring her, and this is
Oh.
not all of the bees.
Oh, okay.
This is only maybe a tenth of the bees.
And you didn't bring her not because she disturbed them, because it would disturb the original hive if she was
Yeah,
gone.
right, yeah. They don't like that. When she's gone, they don't smell her pheromone, and that keeps all of the bees happy. If she's gone for very long, they're
So if
gonna
they
start
smell-
building one of these, and they're gonna get a new queen.
So if the hive smells right, they're happy, they're doing their job, everything's working.
And if it's quiet, we can tell. If you can listen to them in here, they're gonna be a little louder because they're not where they're supposed to be, and it's bright in here. And it's always just pitch dark in their hive, but yet they manage to do some pretty incredible work, even with the lights off. So come up and look. Take some of the sheets if you want to. There's some honey recipe cards. Yeah.
Have you smelled the pheromone then from the queen?
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know if I can smell her pheromone. You can smell the bees themselves. They smell good.
Yeah, honey smell is sweet.
It does. You're right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank both Phil and Patty. That was very informative. We learned a lot. And now we're excited about our wildflower meadow and our butterfly garden, and we know we'll help the bees and the bees will help us. So I'd like to also thank our volunteer board, who's always on hand to help. Linda Roberts is here. Linda Knoll is also probably in the kitchen, and Christy Parrish, they're on the board. I'm Phyllis Bittner, the chair of the board. I should have identified myself, sorry. And Dolores Wishart is right here. She was our breeder today. She's one of our wonderful volunteers who helps us out at our events. And JT Knoll, he is here somewhere. He also sets up the sound system and takes care of our presenters and sets everything up for them. So it always takes a large group to get, even a small event like this, it takes a large group of volunteers to get something happening. So we appreciate everything that they all do. Once again, we ask you all to follow us on Facebook. It's just Miners Hall Museum. Keep up with all of our latest events. We don't have another program for this quarter scheduled right now. We're hoping that the dragline will be moved within the next month or two. And if we do, then we will have a program. The Tiltons who are doing the move are going to present a program for us and tell us a little bit about what it took to make that happen. So that's on Facebook, and you can also find us on all the media. You saw KSN was here today. Was that KSN? Yeah, was here today. So the media covers us fairly well, and they usually put out the word about things that are happening. We do have a big event coming up November the 8th. If you haven't heard about it, it's called Making Spirits Bright. It's our big annual fundraiser, and it is a lot of fun. It's $25 a person, but if you haven't, tickets go on sale October 8th to members and October 15th to non-members. So once again, you can learn about that on Facebook. We have 6 local celebrities who will serve as a bartender. You get a sample of a drink and a snack 6 times, 6 different drinks, 6 different snacks. You learn how to make them. You get recipes. It's a really fun event. It's November the 8th. I mentioned this the last time, and I'm sorry it's not up yet, but we did finish the fundraising for our new projector and screen. We're going to have a 7-foot screen, which in the future will make these photos, all of this, much easier to see. We do have someone contracted that's going to be doing that, but as you can imagine, the slant of the ceiling, there's steel beams underneath there, so getting all of that mounted is taking a little creativity on their part to get the screen level and attach it to the steel beams underneath, run the wiring and everything. So we're hoping that they've been getting supplies and things that they need to make that happen. So we hope very soon we'll have that. It's a drop-down screen, but it's 7 foot, so it'll be wonderful for future programs. So, you know, stay tuned for that, but I'm sorry we didn't have it finished for today. So I think I've covered everything. Patty and Phil are going to be here for a while, so if you want to come and ask them any questions about this. And Patty did bring her, what do you call it, a beekeeper's gear, and she was going to model it for us, but we're kind of disappointed that you
Just
didn't.
didn't really go that direction.
It did.
Sorry.
Okay. But if anyone has any questions of them, they'll be around for a while, and you're welcome to come out and talk to them, learn more about the beekeeping, and visit this wonderful little
I really
group
brought
of
that in case
bees.
the bees got out, you know.
You, well, I wondered, one quick question, and then at the end of it, how did you get them in there?
Phil made that, and you unscrew those wing nuts, and that lid lifts up, and you pick those up, and you put them back in their home.
You just pick up that
It's just a
and
couple
drop
of
it.
these frames,
Yeah,
you
and you
pull them
just,
out of the hive
and when
and
you
set it
pick them out of the hive, they don't all scurry and go flying, they
Well,
just.
the ones we have right now are pretty nice.
You have nice
We've
bees,
had some pretty
okay.
mean bees
Have you?
before.
Okay,
yeah,
so you
but
just
these are
lifted it
pretty
out of there
nice.
and slid it down in there? Wow.
No one
that's-
asked the question that everybody always asks, is like,
Well, we usually give the presentation to children.
usually the first thing they ask is, do you ever get stung?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
You know
of
we
course.
do.
So once again, we thank you all for coming. You're welcome to
Yeah,
stay and
come
visit
up
with
and
them.
look.
We have snacks and refreshments at the back. We hope you'll all stop and grab something, and you're welcome to see view our exhibits. We have a special quarter exhibit on the walking drag line back in that corner. You're welcome to stay and visit all the exhibits. So thank you all for coming.
I got a real buzz out of it.
Great, I know.
Well, I hope everything is done. We need